Welcome back to Chapter 7 of our Fire Emblem Engage low-tier LTC. Of all the early game chapters, this is certainly the hardest, even with the full cast. It features a large enemy density and a really strong boss. It requires us to employ aggressive and dangerous positions, with Yunaka using Warp Ragnarok right away to bait Hortensia forward, and Alfred following closely behind.
The good news, though, is that we get a lot of new units here. First is Alchrist, who, joins with 500 SP and is ready to promote?
Yeah, he sucks.
Good thing there's Lapis, who actually has respectable bases. At this point, we were unsure if she was viable as a physical combat carry, since it is hard to get her enough levels to perform in high-stat chapters like 17 or 22. Nonetheless, she is a useful investment target, and contributes in ways that you may not expect. In the context of this chapter, she and Alchrist both take counter damage from the soldier in order to give Alear 3 men targets.
Last, but definitely not least, is Anna. We hinted earlier that she has an important role in this run, and that sort of starts here. We give her Mars, which may come as a surprise because Micaiah is generally the more popular option for feeding her XP. But there are a few reasons for this. While it's easy to set up for a good amount of heal XP with Micaiah in player phase, Mars actually ends up giving more XP overall if you can get enough kills on enemy phase with Mercurius. Of course, this requires that the unit be good enough to get those kills in the first place. Anna's base class of Axe Fighter gets a lot of flack for not being complementary with her stat line. But in this situation, the good bulk and strength allow her to finish off the armor and win round 3 flyers on enemy phase. Her hit rates are near perfect thanks to C supports from Alear and Fram. Not bad at all for her first foray into combat. Moreover, putting Mars on Anna means that Alear can use Micaiah to approach her own XP benchmarks. Since Alear is unable to divinely inspire herself, her strength is short of doing Anna's job here.
That said, meeting the combat thresholds is only one part of the XP puzzle. The other part is manipulating the enemies to all suicide into Anna. First is the Lance Armor, who has higher expected damage on Etier, but prioritizes the break on Anna, only to have their plans foiled by Fram's Chain Guard. Additionally, you may have noticed that Alear already inherited Canter much earlier than she usually does. This enables her to move below Anna after using Mend, keeping her out of range of the Javelin Soldier and avoiding a chain attack.
The flyers that move later in enemy phase have a few more possible targets. Alchrist used the low might longbow to keep the soldier alive for Anna, but had to be traded off of it to avoid being doubled. Lapis and Anna have the same defense on paper, and Anna effectively has one more due to Alear's personal skill. However, Lapis is activating her own personal, facing 79 displayed hit compared to Anna's 90, while Anna also faces a 4% crit chance. These differences end up making the flyers see slightly higher expected damage on Anna and suicide to her. The comparison is so tight that we cannot dodge augment Mercurius to negate the crit chance, as that would make Lapis the more attractive target.
As much as the left side demonstrates a clean XP optimization, the right side is here to remind us that our team still sucks. Alfred and Yunaka face 5 and 6 enemies respectively over the course of enemy phase. Alfred gets a Micaiah Fensalir and sees about a 60% chance of survival. On top of that, the Great Axe Cavalier must attack him from below, preventing the flyer from boxing him in. This is quite annoying and requires a few time crystal uses to rig. There is also a chance for the Cavalier to go after Yunaka and block Alfred's path, if Yunaka deathbaits while Alfred dodges too much to be in lethal range as well.
Meanwhile, Yunaka gets a Sigurd Engrave and an Avoid plus 10 Inherit, earning about an 82% chance of survival. She also has around a 63% chance to kill both archers thanks to the accurate short knife and an additional hit plus 10 Inherit. These archers must be killed so that the Cavaliers do not block Hortensia's path and keep a heal tile open to activate Yunaka's personal skill. We had to give Yunaka 500 SP from the well to boost her chance of success, but this is well worth it considering that the next player phase will have much worse reliability that is difficult to fix.
The difficulty of this chapter culminates in Hortensia being a really tough enemy boss. She has access to Lucina's strong engage attack all for 1, enabling all allies within 2 tiles of her to chain attack. As Hortensia moves relatively late in enemy phase and is only triggered when someone enters her range, she poses a significant threat to whoever baits her out. We solve this problem with the martial monk that Yunaka warps onto. He moves even later than Hortensia, so he prevents her from reaching Yunaka at one range. In addition, while his AI usually prioritizes Chain Guard, this is not an option after he takes damage from the Warp Ragnarok. Thus, the Martial Monk suicides to Yunaka at the end of enemy phase, opening a path to Hortensia in turn 2.
Having successfully triggered Hortensia and surviving her crew, we still need to kill her 2 HP bars with 2 crits. It doesn't help that Hortensia is by far the luckiest early game boss. To defeat her, Yunaka must land a 17% crit, most of which comes from her personal. Then Alfred must land another 21% crit in the same player phase, which also sucks because we really wanted to avoid forging a Killer Lance. But we have no choice here, because Boucheron's lower movement would cause many problems. He cannot peel off enough enemies off Yunaka, and thus will be blocked from the many enemies surrounding her. In the end, as we previously mentioned, doing Ana Paralog early gave us barely enough resources to forge a terrible Killer Lance. Perhaps the silver lining here is that Alfred's hit rate against Hortensia is much better compared to when Vander does it in standard LTCs, thanks to using lances and his C support with Yunaka. It doesn't quite make up for his worse survivability though.
The 2 necessary crits on Hortensia have a combined chance of success less than 3%. Fortunately, there are a large number of actions in turn 2 that we can use to alter the RNG. After exhausting most of our time crystal usage, the Flower Prince finishes the Flower Princess, completing chapter 7 in 2 turns.